Hello, this is JPL, and today I'm joined with
Christopher
yes, and we are podcast name in
in
brackets.
brackets.
Anyway, how are you doing today, Christopher?
Um, I'm fine.
Yeah.
This is going to be an episode where I'm gonna talk about how tired I am.
Okay. Back to the tiredness, I see.
Yeah,
That's always fun.
yeah, a little lacking in sleep right now.
Yes, and we have less time today to talk about stuff, correct?
Yeah,
All right, where should we start? I guess let's start with what we have on Discord in terms of news. Um, Start with Marvel
mm-hmm.
and Disney Plus shows. So the main thing of notes that you sent me was that they're going to be doing some restructuring on how they do their shows. Apparently,
Yeah. I honestly heard this as a rumor a month or 2 or 3 ago that there's gonna be a significant change that the normal that we've been having will not be the normal.
Okay.
Um, and I'm going to be honest, there was a tweet that said I should read the article, and I still haven't, because apparently it's more detailed than discussing films on Twitter gave information about, or just how crazy it has been and how bad things needed to change. I mean, we can assume, but assumedly things are bad. And in fact, actually, one thing I did see was what you said about She-Hulk, like that last episode. You were right.
What did I say?
Well, you were like, it just seemed like they didn't know what to do, so they did that.
Right.
Yeah, you were right.
Right. I don't know if I was the one that said that, but
You were like,
that
that's what it seemed like watching it. Like, it's like they didn't know how to conclude the story, so they did this wall-breaking thing to take care of the thing.
yeah.
And I believe, something related to that article that basically confirmed what you said. I'm like, holy crap. That is bad.
So specifically, what the discussions were focusing on was with Daredevil,
Mm-hmm.
the news show, in that they let go of all the writers and directors, and the series will have an entire creative reboot. Which, when I heard that, I was like, "Oh man!" Like, oh, I have to wait for more Daredevil, and then reading more, it's like, oh, that's actually probably not such a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, given the track record of everything we've seen with the Marvel TV shows, they haven't
Just
been
Marvel
great.
in general.
They haven't been great. And just finding out, it's like, oh, they didn't have a showrunner or a show Bible. Uh, they didn't really have a full idea of how they were doing. Apparently, we weren't going to see Daredevil in his suit until episode 4, which is, I don't think so. I mean, I get it for like how we've been doing with Disney Plus. It makes sense to do that, but yeah, no, I'm glad that they're trying to go back to the more TV show roots of having your story Bible and showrunner with proper multi-season things. I think I'm still fine with having a limited series, but just
Right.
have that same style of format of proper TV show
Mm-hmm.
instead of binge. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm glad for that, but reading that initially, I was like, oh man. But I think it's the best deal to have, which probably means we're gonna have a bigger product. But I don't know how much they had filmed already.
It seems like they filmed half the season.
Mm.
Up to half, at least.
Yeah.
But what the strike, the well, the original shoot was from February to December,
Mm-hmm.
and the strike started, I don't know, we'll say July.
At some point.
So in terms of time, that is half a season. Now, uh, now some, I don't think the article mentions this because this relies more on the scoops area things. But word is very strong from multiple people that, yes, indeed, this show, at least in its previous format, and it still has a possibility of carrying over into the future, but it's still very TBD, right? TBA, whatever. Who knows? But at least in its previous format, yes, Karen was never mentioned. And honestly, honestly, I was just even thinking about She-Hulk. I'm like, yeah, whatever happened in She-Hulk wouldn't have happened if Karen was still around. You know what I mean?
Would it though? Oh, yeah, I guess since at that point Karen would have been the love interest.
Yeah.
Although, it's a little off and on depending on the situation.
I mean, I haven't seen the show, but it's still like, I'm actually surprised I didn't see more discussion about that. But I guess
it was more of a will they, won't they?
Yeah.
I don't know they fully went to it. They probably did. I can't remember. It's been a bit. I should remember this.
You should.
But I'm choosing not to at the moment.
Anyways, so wouldn't have mentioned Karen and would have mentioned Foggy being killed off.
Foggy was getting killed off?
Yeah. Yeah, from what I'm seeing, Karen wasn't mentioned, but Foggy was mentioned being killed.
Oh, no. Don't kill Mr. Foggy.
So, I mean, again, people, when the shoot was happening, people are like, where are those two? And so that is the words I've been seeing from scoopers. And again, we'll see if that will carry over into the new version, which it very well could.
Mm.
But also, there's still, now with them like reheaving a lot of the show, strong possibility of that could be changed. And then also with them changing the show, there is still a possibility they could still recycle a few scenes that they did shoot. They could still very much go with their main storylines.
He is going to appear in Echo still.
Yeah, that is true. So you'll get that.
I will get that. When does Echo come out?
That was pushed into January.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went from November to January.
That makes sense. It's hard to tell with all this pushing back and whatnot.
So I think our current timeline is we got What If, I believe, in December, Echo in January, X-Men early 24. Ironheart really seems to be pushed off. Like, I have no idea when it's being released at this point. Like what that show is supposed to release this year, and I don't even know if it's going to be released next year from things I've been seeing. So, yeah, things are kind of nutty.
Okay.
And speaking of nutty, actors, they were not able to come with a deal with the studios.
I know. It's silly still.
But I will say, I think the fact that the writers were able to come to a deal with the studios, I believe that gives the actors every more encouragement to hold out, because if the studios could cave into the writers, which I believe to studios don't seem that important, they could definitely cave in to the actors, which the studios would probably deem more important.
Yeah. So we'll see when that finally happens. Hopefully it happens sooner rather than later.
Right.
Because everybody wants to return working, that's for sure. Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, they're sitting around with Taylor Swift, apparently.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny, though.
Kind of funny. Okay. I was wondering when the next Star Wars show was going to come out.
Star Wars, I have no clue, man.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be either December or January. We'll see. That's Skeleton Crew, Stranger Things in Space.
So did we talk about Ahsoka last time? Like, did it finish?
It did finish.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it finished. It was fine. It seems going to be more than one season long, which there was a rumor about that. I'm a little disappointed by that because I would rather have a complete story, but
Does it feel like a complete story?
For the most part, except for one element in that you had one of your main antagonists, which you were like teasing his motives the entire show, and like he was the best part of the show because you were like his acting was so interesting and watch him. He was the actor who had passed away before the show came out. And so the finale came, he's only in it for like 2 seconds. And it's like, oh, I guess that's going to be something in the next season or whatever film that they're doing next. And it's like, oh, that's a little disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing that we were hoping to get but didn't get. And the actor will likely have to be recasted. So it's a shame for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the last few episodes could have been combined into one. Just thinking about what actually happens and where we are. You're like, yeah, I enjoyed all of them, but if you put them all into one, I think that'd be a really amazing episode than just 3 good, generally okay episodes. I don't really see the hate for this show, but I understand that, again, I kept saying the format wasn't working and the music carried a lot of scenes. So there you go. I still enjoyed it, but yeah, it's really we're really starting to see that Star Wars and TV. That's where the struggles lie, and that was the fears going into it. And so, really, what I've learned is that Star Wars is at its best in live action TV if it's at a lower scale.
I think, in terms of quote hate with Ahsoka, I'm just like when I see the online discourse about it, I just realized that it's a show for the fans, and so first off, it's not for me who's a casual, barely a casual.
Right.
But then, moreover, I'm just like, you know what? I'm not interested in Star Wars enough to want to watch this, and I'm not interested in Star Wars at all to really care about Star Wars. Like I've said, like the only real thing I'm actually interested in watching at some point is Ahsoka. Dang it! Andor. Stupid A names.
Stupid A names.
So, you know what I mean? I think, obviously, like I mentioned to you before, and it still may happen, like there is definitely part of me that's kind of wanting to try a little harder with Star Wars, but honestly, like I'm just really recognizing like the world has just become a lot bigger, and I'm just losing more interest, and I just don't care enough. So I don't know, man.
Mm-hmm.
But it was funny because I was talking to my roommate, or he was talking for a moment, and he was like breaking down like Revenge of the Sith, which I didn't ask him to do. Because for me, I like the character story of Anakin, and he was getting more into like, lore and such that I didn't really care that much about. And also, he's one who's seen Clone Wars.
Right.
He likes Clone Wars. He doesn't like Rebels, and therefore he has no interest in Ahsoka. So I don't know. He was just talking. I don't remember all the details he had. And I mean, to be fair, there's some interesting things that I didn't think about. But for me, like, I very much like Revenge of the Sith on a very individual level, and specifically Anakin's character arc. Like that's the movie for me. You know what I mean? I don't really care. And again, I there are moments of enjoyment throughout the Star Wars movies. I'm not going to deny that, but I'm just not interested. But it was funny after he said all that. I said, "Give me an N, give me an E, give me an R, give me a D. What's that spell?" He went, "Nerd." I'm like, "Yep."
That's so rude. Yeah. I mean, right after Ahsoka, I binged through Andor again.
Oh dang.
Yeah, it was fun to revisit that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was at its best in my first time viewing, but
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of the season, it was like, oh yeah, this is still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Then I rewatched the second season of The Bad Batch because why not? Watched it once, have to watch it a second times, of course. So I did that,
Mm-hmm.
and in terms of like movies, I finished watching my Disney movies.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. I finished watching that. I recorded my thing, and I'm just like, I don't know. I have to edit it.
You're relieved that you're done.
Yes, but I'm also like, I know that I still have more to do, and I'm not really looking forward to it. I'm like, man, to be honest, I don't think this is going to be a good video. But it's like, I already put all this effort into recording like 100 and some video clips.
Right.
Just my thoughts, and I'm like, like I can't let that go to waste. So I'm learning DaVinci as well so that I can edit all this.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
How's that going for you?
What, learning DaVinci? It's doing fine. I'm going through LinkedIn Learn because I still have access, apparently.
Oh, nice. Jealous, man.
Yes. It's great. I can finish that thing. But yeah, the sequels they're rough for sure. They're definitely rough. Krong's New Groove was the one you wanted to talk about or something.
Yeah, more or less want to hear your thoughts about.
I think it is a good, enjoyable watch, but definitely not as good as the other one.
Mm-hmm.
It does feel like they had too many ideas that they wanted to go in this direction, but just didn't really know how to mesh them all. And so I don't really love the format of the story. And the stakes are a bit lower, but there is still a lot of fun to have. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's that one.
Mm-hmm.
Was there another one you wanted me to bring up or anything?
I honestly don't remember.
Was it Lion King 1.5?
Possibly. I'm gonna look at your letterbox, but you can keep talking.
I mean, that one was fun too. I was wondering because like through this watching, I noticed that okay, each of these Lion King films have like a Shakespeare aspect to it, where the first one is just Hamlet but with lions. The sequel is Romeo and Juliet, but the 1.5, I was like, oh, how do they do that? It's like, oh, it's Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, the parody of Shakespeare. And it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's wacky. I think the main downfall of this film in particular is the emotional core, in that it really brings down this satirical thing. Just take out the emotional core, leave it as a wacky comedy. It's like 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
But the emotional core, because they have to have an emotional core, apparently, it's like, oh, okay, it's not as interesting.
You know what? I didn't have this thought before,
Okay.
but I'm gonna ask you.
Yes.
Atlantis too.
Atlantis 2.
Yeah, because I have seen the original.
Yes. So Atlantis 2 isn't exactly a sequel. It was intended to be a TV show, a cartoon. And so what this is like 3 different episodes that they were hoping to get a green light, but it didn't get green light. So they just put the 3 different episodes, kind of made it a film. It's so all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been a great TV show, but like it just didn't really work as a film. And the ending is just so rushed because like they knew they weren't going to get greenlit, so they tried to solve it, and it's like, oh, okay, that's a shame. That's the case with a lot of these sequels where they wanted to make it a show, but they couldn't, or they were episodes of the show that didn't air, and so they put it as a film, like Tarzan and Jane, or they were just, I guess, finales to seasons that they made into films,
Interesting.
which were the Aladdin films, which they're more in line with the TV show. They weren't actually aired as a TV show, the films, but they essentially follow that continuity.
And then you know what? I'm just curious. Mulan 2.
Mulan 2. What did I say? Oh,
You
okay.
said this film has a lot of interesting elements, but are brought down by the conflicts. Mushu and the stupid relationship dramas are the antagonists of the film. Take that out, and you have a cute film.
It is a cute film, generally, but like the stupid relationship drama that you have, where it's like, oh, you don't love me, or that kind of crap. That's an oversimplification of the conflicts thing, but it's like that's the main conflict of this film is relationship drama, and it's all caused by Mushu. Like, he wants to break up our two main characters because he'll lose his job. Like, if that doesn't happen, and it's like, oh, like the first film, oh, we're gonna defeat the Huns here, relationship drama, and it's like, what? It's
That's honestly, the concept's funnier than it probably is.
Oh yeah,
Like, it's making me laugh thinking about it. So isn't there a Lion King 3?
That's 1.5.
Oh, weird.
Yes.
Is there a Lion King 4?
No.
Weird. Then is there a Lion King 5?
Why? Do you think there is?
I mean, you never know.
There is a Timon and Pumbaa TV show.
Oh, wait, I might have seen that on Disney Plus or something.
Yes. Because that's a thing. It's a weird show. I didn't realize how many TV shows there were to the films.
Are you gonna go through this one day?
Maybe. I'm very curious about it.
Right.
Some are not in Disney Plus for some reasons. For reasons, yes. Definitely some reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I'm glad I'm done with the Disney stuff, for sure.
Sorry.
And then the only other films I watched, because I took a break from watching stuff because, that was a lot of watching.
Yeah.
So instead of us just like, I'll just watch stuff on YouTube that I don't have to commit to.
Right.
So it's just, I did that for a few days, and then I came back and was like, oh, I'll watch Hellboy, because I remember enjoying that film. And yeah, it's enjoyable, but it's definitely aged. Then, we started a Monster High thing, and so far it was a rough start. And then last night I watched Fast and Furious 7, which was the best one of the film. The best one of the series, because it really felt like it was like the final one. They like upped the ante. And I was like, yeah, sure, that's some fun action right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit disappointed that they made more, if I'm being honest.
It just made enough money,
Yes. Before I move on to TV shows, another some more bits of news is that there was some DC casting in that none of the Justice League actors are returning to their roles for the the Gunverse, which is, it's whatever. I think it's for the best, although it is conflicting because Gal Gadot said that she was returning. I don't know.
Right.
We'll see when we see.
Also, you know what? Somewhat conflicting, because also I feel like I'm getting mixed signals about Jason Momoa as well.
He's very likely going to come in as a different character than Aquaman.
Right.
So
I guess like I might have seen some things that have confused me about like him possibly doing both Aquaman and Lobo. Like what? That doesn't make any sense. So I hope you're wrong. Again, like I probably am just seeing crap on Twitter. So like
Yeah,
I don't really pay that much attention to DC. So anything can get in my head about that.
that's the latest bit of news on that. Also, while we're waiting for the actors' strike to end, I believe they have their Fantastic Four casted, and are waiting to announce that.
I heard that rumor too.
Yep, hopefully that's true. And of course,
Oh, you know
more.
what? I was just randomly thinking.
Yeah,
Blade's still in development hell.
yes, it is. So that we'll see if that film ever happens.
Mm-hmm.
And last bit of news that I have is, of course, again more Rooster Teeth, and that in this time they deleted a bunch of their series off of YouTube, so
Wait,
that
what's Rooster Teeth?
the people who make Ruby,
Oh.
yes, so they also make like other shows like Red versus Blue or Camp, and so their main shows they deleted off of YouTube, which they've been there for years, so that you can go to their stupid website and watch it there.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense. They get more money by doing it that way, but it's like it's still frustrating when they do that.
Yeah.
But that's a company that we're just waiting to die, which
Well,
is a
speaking
shame.
of Ruby, there's that new Justice League and Ruby Part 2 releasing, I think, this week.
See, yeah, apparently that was releasing this week. That's just flown below my radar because like they're not advertising their stuff anymore. It seems.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a thing. But in terms of TV shows, I watched through Severance.
Whoa! Oh my gosh, you did.
I did. Yes, I binged it.
Okay, okay.
You want to hear my thoughts?
Oh my gosh, yes.
I think it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take a sip of my
Okay.
water here to get you on edge.
Mm-hmm.
hmm hmm You were wanting me to watch it,
Yes.
and I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do like the concept. It's very
Mm-hmm.
interesting and intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely well done and well made.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I was thinking when I was watching it?
What?
This is what I wanted Loki to be.
You know what? It was so interesting because I was watching like Loki the other day, and during an episode, I was like, "Wait, season one, like there's resemblances of Severance, of them not knowing what's going on and them trying to figure it out, kind of
Sure.
idea." I'm like, "Oh dang!"
Because I feel like this show knows what its concept is,
Mm-hmm.
and it utilizes it to like the most degree that they could.
Mm-hmm.
Like they did different things with it. They have the interesting finale with what they did. That's what I wanted Loki to do. It has this great concept, but it doesn't even use it. We'll talk about Loki later because I did watch the first episode of
Oh
the
really?
season.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I thought it was compelling. The one thing I'd say that I didn't like about this is the ending.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just cuts off
Mm-hmm.
at the height of its moment.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I get it. That's cliffhangery, but it ruins the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have to wait for a second season, it just doesn't work as well. When you
Mm-hmm.
binge it, I'm sure it's going to be great, but there was no catharsis. Like a slight, just one scene of them reverting back to their Audis and being like, wait, what just happened? And then end with that question of what just happened versus click, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it, it's like, oh, on the edge of your seat, and then, oh, that's crappy. You're like, oh. But I was very dissatisfied with that. And so I was frustrated with it.
I somewhat agree. I honestly went into the show not knowing. I thought it was a limited series, honestly.
Right.
So I went into that last episode expecting everything answered. So you imagine my disappointment, especially when I'm like, oh, dang, this is only season 1. You know? So first off, that was kind of nutty for me. And then second off, yeah, I do agree. I think that was actually, was it Ben Stiller? I think that was his thing. I think there was actually going to be, I think they were actually planning a whole episode after it, but um, but they're like, nah, let's cut it off. And yeah,
Interesting.
I do, um, yeah, cut it off more for like that suspense, and to leave the season on such a moment like that, or an episode. But I do agree. I kind of wish there was more of like a moment, at least. I feel like that could have very much been well incorporated.
Yeah. A
Um,
small breathing moment for the audience.
well, even just like what just happened in that last moment, and yeah, like what you said, we just process it with the Audi, what just happened there, even if it's a 5-10 second scene. Like, I don't know, would be like, okay, dang, we're on track, we're, you know,
Yeah.
because they're
And
not
that would
gonna
help
do
set
that.
up your second season as well.
Yeah, they're not gonna, that's not gonna be, I'd be shocked if it is, but that's not gonna be what we're gonna see first in season 2. I doubt we're gonna see that day. Well, Helly, possibly.
Mm.
That could be possible, but I could see, like, we see what happens on Helly's side of things, and then theme music, and then the next day.
Maybe.
Maybe that's a far stretch.
Yeah.
But
And so
I guess
it,
also I would think Irv, like, I guess we probably would have to see what happens with Irv and Bert at the end of the episode too. I don't know.
yeah,
They're yeah, I've like, I don't know if it warranted if we need another full episode, but still, like, I don't know how they're gonna really wrap it up in the first episode of season 2. You know what I
like
mean?
even if they have to break our hearts and like do that, don't just leave us hanging for
Like,
however long it's going to take them to get another season.
like we're already gripped with the show. We've come this far. The show itself is already enough of a cliffhanger. You didn't have to like go the extra mile to be a cliffhanger.
Yeah, and when they finally do solve it, it's probably not going to feel the same or be as good. So, I'm really hoping that the show doesn't go the same direction that Worst World does, where you have a really good first season, and then they shift their thing in the second season, and it's like, oh,
You know what? I already see that happening.
yeah, I can see that.
Because first off, there's already 8 confirmed new cast members in season 2.
Mm.
That it's there. I'd be shocked if all those 8 cast members were suddenly thrown into the severed floor. No, things that I've been seeing is that season 2 is going to expand on the world, and whether that is inside Lumen or outside of Lumen. And I am very much expecting there to be more outside Lumen stuff going on. And so, honestly, for me personally, I'll just I'll try not to go too long with this.
Right.
The show, first off, I love the cinematography, and part of that is because of Poppy. I love the YouTuber who was on the internet going, "I'm Poppy, I'm Poppy, I'm Poppy. I love my fans," against a white backdrop, and there would be very like, most would think, eerie ambient music. For me, it was soothing, and it just, I fell in love with it. And honestly, Severance, you got, incredible music, and you got very plain sets for half
Yeah.
the show. and it looks very enticing. So first off, it's very appealing to me. But honestly, it the concept of the show is very personal to me, because of the car accident. And as I've told a lot of people, with the trauma that I had, um, I worked very hard. Sorry. Um, like the trauma hurt so much that I started to try to numb myself from the pain of the trauma,
Mm.
and that I personally believe was not the healthiest way to go about it. And I screwed up my emotions, but in those moments, the trauma really hurt, and it was very much like, I wish I could not feel this. And for this show to kind of tackle, what it's a very fantastical idea, but some people who, at least in Mark's case, who had a very traumatic experience and cannot deal with the pain, and this is how he chooses to deal with it. I don't know, is very personal to me. And so, in a probably unhealthy way, the severed floor is very soothing to me, because it is a life not knowing the trauma. And so, for me, like, I honestly eat up the severed floor a lot,
Mm.
because it's just very soothing to me, and comfortable for me. So yeah, there I do have a strong emotional connection to Severance, but I do believe beyond that it is a good show. So
Hmm. Yeah.
I love the
So
soundtrack.
it was very good. It was very striking. I love the intro for sure.
Yes.
Yes, I was reminded. It's like, oh yes, most TV intros are made by the same company. If you really take a look at popular TV shows and take a look at their
Mhm.
intros, a lot of them look the same
Interesting.
in some way, and like they're made by the same company called Elastics, and
Uh-huh.
so they have like a visual style that makes you think, oh yeah, that looks like an elastic thing or whatnot. But moving on,
No, whoa, wait. What rating did you give it? 3.5? That's my
4.
guess. 4. Yes.
Yeah, 4.
Let's go.
Yep, 4. That was the only show on Apple TV Plus that I was interested in watching. I
Yeah,
took a little glance at other shows on there, and I was like, I don't know about that. So
that's fair. That's fair.
the only other thing coming up is Godzilla, that little thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the story will be any good
Mm-hmm. But
because human plot lines in
suck.
Godzilla stuff is just not that interesting. But I'll watch it because Godzilla.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Godzilla,
yes,
you're on it. I have a question. Have you
yeah,
seen the Japanese Godzilla movies?
I have, yes.
You have.
Not all of them, but
Uh-huh.
a good chunk of them.
Because
Probably half of them.
I'm seeing that some of them have been restored for 4K.
Um, yeah, there is a collection on the Criterion that they have a
Well, I
bunch of.
mean, but like I don't know if it's those same ones, but like I just thought it was very interesting. Like, the Japanese ones are getting restorations. I don't again, it could be the same ones, it might not be. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And the only other two shows that I watched were there's an anime called My Happy Marriage. It was brand new. It was airing weekly. I watched the first 5 and was like, oh, that's pretty cute. I enjoy this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just waited for the rest to come out before I binged it, and it was like, oh, the first half is pretty good. The second half is like, oh, it's just mush. It just didn't really have what I liked about the first half, but overall,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay. And then I've watched and finished a show called Bee and Puppy Cat. It has an interesting history. About 10 years ago, uh, they released a pilot for this, and it was really well received. It was like one of the most popular pilots of that pilot season that they did. I liked it. I watched it from the very beginning, from the pilot, and I was like, oh, I liked it. And slowly they've been trying to get the show greenlit for something. And so they would release a handful of episodes every couple years to get people interested in it. And after each release, I was just less and less interested in it because less and less of what I liked from the pilot was being utilized in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And so with the Netflix one, it was so far gone from what I liked. And yeah, sure, it's still comforting and somewhat enjoyable to watch, but it was like, oh, that's not really what I liked. So yeah, what a shame. We were talking about restorations earlier, and
Mm-hmm.
recently we had a Prime Day sale on Amazon Prime, and I got the Blu-ray remaster of Batman the Animated Series.
Nice. What? That was like 50% off or something, right?
That was 70 some off.
It's crazy.
So I got it for like 20, $25. It was pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's good. I'm very confused about how they actually remastered this, but
Uh-huh.
I couldn't find any information online. But yes, I'm glad to have a Blu-ray thing, and so I watched a couple episodes and director's commentaries, and so
Looks good.
that was fun. That's all I watched. How about
Mm-hmm.
you?
Me. So I believe I talked about finishing Severance.
Yes, you
Okay.
did.
Cool. Um, Man, I'll also just say, like, we were watching like one episode a night, and I think actually like the last four episodes, I think we watched them over 2 nights, and um, because I'm like episodes 8 and 9, like that's hard to watch apart from each other. You know, after watching 8, you're just like, oh, I have to know what's gonna happen.
Right.
Um, well, first off, during episode 9, my roommate was stressed out. It was so funny because I don't remember my reaction watching it. Actually, episode 9 is the episode I revisit the least. Because I mostly revisit the the office scenes. But yeah. But in episode 7, there was a very turning moment, a very strong turning moment for Zach Terry's character. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. Um, but that left such a heavy impression on my roommate, and he just thought about it like just nonstop, waiting in anticipation for us to continue watching.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we started a show that I had seen before called Pachinko, but I think we've only gotten 2 episodes in because I don't think we watched it last week. Um, we've I don't know what's really been up, but it's mostly kind of just been South Park. We started season 10 last night. Um, I think like the past 2 weeks, I've had to go into work a little earlier because I volunteered to do some extra work.
Okay.
It means a little extra pay, which is awesome. But
Mm-hmm.
also, that was just like cutting into like sleep and life, and so it just made things like really tricky for me. So I don't think I was very much in the mood to watch Pachinko. I think that's part of it. Loki. Actually, let's talk about Loki.
Oh, Loki. Yes. So I watched the first episode because that was the last thing available since the Disney Plus my thing expired, and so I was like, maybe I'll just watch the first episode and see what it's like. It wasn't terrible, but like it was just fine. I wasn't at all excited by it. I like what's his name? Ken Hyde Kwan?
Kyukon.
Yeah, Kia Kwan. I love him. Like he's
Mhm.
great. But like I didn't really care about what was going on for the most
Right.
part. So
A few thoughts. First off, with that episode, I feel like that episode actually made King feel threatening.
yeah.
Like out of everything we've seen so far, like the season finale of Loki or Quantumania, I've never really. I'm just like who, but like they made him feel scary in that first episode, and so I will admit I felt some tension as it relates to that. I don't know what that tension is from because honestly, not a lot of details are given, but like they had some solid atmosphere.
Sure. Yeah.
My biggest issue with the episode is the fact that this show is based on its own lore. And that's the basis of the show. And that is also, again, the basis of that episode. And so a lot of the episode, just like the season finale, is a lot of explaining. And to make things even nuttier is the fact that we throw in Q Kwan into it, which he's great. I have no problem with him. But the fact that like everything everywhere all at once, he's also in a similar spot where he's doing a lot of the explaining of what's going to happen, what needs to happen, or whatever. Which in theory is fine, but there just came a point watching it where my brain just snapped and I'm like, I lost it. I don't know what's going on. I can't keep track because first off, it was a weird multiversal experience for me watching Q Kwan play a similar esque character. I know it's kind of a version of him in both projects, but regardless, again, like that person who's just explaining things. So
Right.
I kind of just lost it. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm getting confused with the lore from everything all at once. And I'm getting confused with Loki's lore because I honestly couldn't remember some details from the first season. Because when Loki says you're all variants, I didn't even remember that. I paused it. I asked my roommate, I'm like, I don't remember this. And he didn't remember specifically, but he remembers it happening. I didn't. So, and there were just like little things I couldn't believe how much like I didn't remember because I wasn't really in the mood to like rewatch it, right? And then I'm
Right.
like, well, maybe I should have if I
Did
can't
you
remember
watch the
anything.
the recap at the beginning of the
At the
episode?
beginning, yes, but there were still
Okay.
some details that it didn't include.
Okay.
That would have been nice just because it was referenced. At least on my end, because I just couldn't remember stuff,
Sure. Yeah.
which I was surprised about. Um, and so yeah, I don't know. This is again a show that is based on its own lore. It's so wrapped up in its own lore, and it's hard. It kind of takes the fun out of it. I understand that this is to set up Secret Wars and all that crap, but it's just a lot of information.
Yeah. And it's like you have access to this multiverse, but you never use it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why do you have this concept but never utilize your concept? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, but what about but don't you like this cool aesthetic? I'm like, yeah, but what about the other stuff that goes with the aesthetic? Why aren't we getting any of that
Mm-hmm.
that I was intrigued by in the first episode of last season? So I don't think I'll get any more until the finale. So I'll watch the show when I watch it later on. But right now,
Right.
I'm like, it wasn't terrible, but I didn't really care.
Mm-hmm. I will say, especially considering the stuff we've been getting from the MCU lately, it is among the better stuff.
It's not saying much, but yes, it is among the better stuff, which is a shame. But like the Marvels is coming out soon, and so we're getting all the trailers desperately wanting us to go and watch the
And
film.
currently, tracking says it could be the worst tracking MCU movie
Yeah,
or opening week or something like that,
possibly.
possibly, which is crazy.
Yeah,
I think the range they're saying is 50 to 75 million, and Incredible Hulk was 55. Um,
nice.
I don't know what's second worst. I know I can't remember if Eternals made 400 worldwide or domestically. I would believe it would be worldwide. Um, anyways, those are some numbers if you care.
Those are some numbers.
Numbers. I love them. Anyways, so because that first episode of Loki, I'm like, you know what? my roommate hasn't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, and he's been wanting to see it.
Okay.
But I was holding it up because I had just recently seen it with a coworker, and when I saw it that second time, I was kind of experiencing what I was talking about with like Parasite and Days of Future Past, where I was feeling a little removed from it.
Sure.
And I'm like, you know what? I really don't really want to rewatch Everything All at Once. And then my roommate moved in, and I'm like, dang it, he wants to see it, but I don't really want to see it, but I want to see it with him. And so then after Loki, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna swallow the pill, and then I don't have to watch it for a few more years. You know what I mean? Not until I start dating or some crap like that. So
Sure.
I'm like, I'll do it. So I did. And you know what? I enjoyed it a lot better this third time around than I did that second time. I have no idea what happened. There were moments on my end, but for the most part, I was I, I was fine. So you know what? I see that as a complete win. And then also during that time, I was like trying to take some more mental notes about like the philosophies it was encouraging, and so like just dissecting that a bit because it was kind of flying over my head that second time. But yeah, I was able to appreciate more the third time than I did the second time.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's still a certain thrill from seeing it the first time that I didn't experience the third time. But I will say for watching it a third time, it went really well for me. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
really happy about that. Then, also because my roommate hasn't seen it, and because he's a spooky season kind of guy, and since it was Friday the 13th, we watched Werewolf by Night, which, I mean, is enjoyable in its own right. It's not necessarily for me, but it's not bad. You know what I mean? So I gave it,
Right.
a strong 3.5 stars. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? It's just one of those things where it's like I see the appeal. I'm not in love with it, but it's not bad, and I don't hate it. You know. Um, and then because of something that we're probably not going to be able to talk about now, which kind of sucks.
We can. I mean, we can talk about it now.
I mean, I kind of am a little tightish on time.
I can be brief.
Okay.
What do I have to say?
Okay. So, in preparation for this episode, I watched Weird, the Ali Yankovic story.
Mm.
Um, I'm like, I'm a, I'm a go all out for this episode. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so we watched it last night. Which I will say is a movie is a movie that's been on my list, but
Right.
I don't think I would have watched it anytime soon if it wasn't for this what we just did. And
Yes.
so I was like, you know what, let's just go for it. Honestly, I'd seen some people on Twitter who've reviewed copies of Barbie, so I thought it had already released on physical because my roommate's like, I'm gonna buy that. So I'm like, cool. So we went to Walmart, and I'm like, it's not there. And I looked it up, and it's like, oh, it's on Tuesday. So I'm gonna go pick it up tomorrow because I don't think my roommate will be able to make it out. He'll pay me.
Okay.
But we plan to buy and watch Barbie tomorrow. I would like to think. So that'll be fun. Anyways, so that it doubly worked out for Weird Al because I was afraid I'd have to push it off, and we wouldn't be able to do it in this episode. But yeah, so we watched a movie, and like in one of the very first scenes, when his mom says, "Weird Al, you and your father talked, and we decided that you should stop being yourself and whatever." And it was, I think that was like one of the best opening scenes for a movie like this because it immediately set the tone for the movie. Where it's like, you know what? No mom would ever say this. Don't take this movie so seriously.
Right.
And honestly, like just even as like if this was like a little teaser on YouTube, like it's the perfect teaser. You know what I mean? Where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, just keep your mind open and laugh throughout this movie. My favorite part about the movie was Pablo Escobar.
It just takes a huge left turn with Pablo Escobar. It's like what? No,
Spec-
that was fun.
Specifically when they first threw him on screen and they had the gun shooting,
Uh-huh.
killed me. When Oprah was asking Weird Al about his father, or parents, I was dying in my seat still about Pablo Escobar. It
Mhm.
was the funniest left field crap ever. Oh my gosh! And then again, just I I don't think the rest of the Pablo Escobar things were as funny as that initial thing, but it's still the best left turn you
Yes.
would have guessed. Oh my
And
god.
so you watched the film because I gave you the Weird Al mixtape.
hmm
What are your general thoughts about it?
Um. Well, first off, I thought it was like interesting. Like, I don't know if that was Daniel Radcliffe singing in the movie or not, but
No. You
that makes sense then because I'm like that does not seem like it. It sounds like Daniel
no.
Radcliffe.
Al re-recorded his songs for the film.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, because I'm like, it didn't really seem like. So, partially listening through this mix, I'm like, you know what? It sounds similar enough from the movie. Um, but yeah, I think like Weird Al is obviously a great source of joy for so many people, and the movie is proof. These songs are proof, and again, yeah, like it's a lot of great fun for people to and again, I know that parodies are not for everybody, but also I think Weird Al is the most digestible out
Mm.
of most parody artists, and not to mention like doing the polka mixes, like that is
Yeah.
just so very like you can't take me that seriously. I'm doing a freaking polka mix of
Yeah.
these songs, you know what I mean?
For those of you wondering what the songs are on this mixtape, it's The Saga Begins, A Complicated Song, Smells Like Nirvana, Party in the CIA, White and Nerdy, Foil, Virus Alert, Trapped in the Drive-Thru, Ode to a Superhero, and Now That's What I Call Polka.
I guess a few little thoughts was that I didn't really. I was a little surprised by like Saga Begins or a two superhero because I didn't expect them to be like based off um, Star Wars and Spider-Man franchises. Like I guess like that was just I didn't expect that because I guess especially after like a movie where he seemed to like be writing songs about like common things. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And to like tackle franchises, I guess was just a little bit of a surprise to me.
So,
Um, mhm.
the interesting note with The Saga Begins is that the song came out before the film, and before The Phantom Menace in 1999. And so Weird Al just he went a huge research trip on like finding every bit of information he could about the film. He like watched the trailer, which back then you had to just go to the film and go to a movie that was playing the trailer at the time. He just went through interviews, magazines, the dark web on any leaks that he could find. He put together the song, and it's like 100% accurate to the film.
Dang,
Like he did a really good job.
that's crazy.
And so, did he have a favorite song from this one, or anything that stood out to you?
Um, Honestly, I'll just be honest. Like from like the moment you play them for me, I think the polka mixes are probably just a strong standout, man. Um,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, I think like that is for me. I feel like the height of like Weird Al joy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they're just so fun and enjoyable to listen to. So I would still probably say that. Forgive me if that's a basic answer, but like
No,
legitimately, like it's fun.
it's my favorite too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed this mixtape. It's really fun. A lot of
hmm
really fun Al songs. And moving on to your mixtape, you had Be Still and Know His Name, whatever that other song is, Zero, Knock, and I Am.
Bingle, bingle.
So, Be Still, I thought was a nice chill piece. That's like,
hmm
oh, okay, it's nice. It's ambient. Listen to the background. It's pretty calming. Um, I don't know if I remember the other three except for I Am.
That's fine. So
I Am was probably the more notable one that I was like, oh, okay, that's an interesting beat. Kind of enjoyable, but I don't know if it's my thing. And the other three, I know I listened to it twice today. I don't
That's
remember.
fine. I will say Zero is the Coca-Cola song. If that.
Yes, I know that there was a Coca-Cola bit, and it's like, why is this thing here?
It's literally a promotional song.
Okay. Oh, Zero. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, Coca-Cola. Zero.
Coca-Cola. I'll just say, "I Am" by IVE. It's my favorite song of the year.
Okay, I can see that. It is. I think it's a well-made song for sure.
I will say, like, it very much brings me back to what I'm familiar of from K-pop, and for me, continues to establish IVE as like the best K-pop group on the market presently. So, yeah. Okay, cool.
Are you ready for your next mixtape?
Yes, I am.
All right, this one's gonna be an interesting one for you. It is my Brony mixtape.
Okay.
So it's a collection of just classic Brony music, that were helped define, I guess, their generations or whatnot. But the songs are this: "Sinking Ships" by Dawn Somewhere, "Lost on the Moon" from Wooden Toaster and The Living Tombstone, "Love Me Cheerily" from Wooden Toaster and The Living Tombstone, "Nightmare Night" from Wooden Toaster plus Mike the Microphone, "Beyond Her Garden" from Wooden Toaster, "Discord" from The Living Tombstone, "Pinky's Brew" from Sherlock Pones, "Anthropology" from Awkward Marina, "Lullaby for a Princess" from the Ponyphonics, and "The Brony Polka" from Animated James, which is just a Weird Al parody polka version of classic Brony songs put together, which I thought was a fun way of combining things. This might be a difficult one for you because quality-wise for each of these is going to vary because they're not professionals. At least not all of them were. And so things might not sound good, or there might be some distortion or stuff like that.
Okay.
Specifically for the final two songs of this list, I included the animations that were made to the songs because they're longer songs, and I thought it might help you have some fun visuals to go with it in case you wanted that. But there you go.
Cool.
That's my Brony mixtape. Cringe all you want.
Well, I recognize the name Living Tombstone from, I think it was the documentary. So.
You remember the documentary? That's nice.
I do.
Yes.
My next tape for you is "Blue" by Arbor Season, indie husband and wife duo that I've seen live twice. "Ghost of Me" by Make Them Suffer. Danielle from New Jeans, she did the Korean dub for Ariel in The Little Mermaid, so I particularly love "Part of Your World" reprise, "Spicy" by Espa, and then IVE did a release for the Japanese, and so my favorite song from that is called "Classic." So that will be the tape I will hand you at some point.
All right. Well, any other thing we want to talk about before, or are we done?
I don't have anything on my radar.
All right.
All right.
It's a short one for today, folks. But anyway, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Goodbye.